Florida's Supreme Court ruling that will trigger a 6-week abortion ban, one of the strictest in the country, on May 1st.
But it doesn't end there. Voters will be able to weigh in on the issue in November. Let's go on the record.
From WPBF 25, this is On the Record with Todd McDermott and Nathalie Pozo.
Good morning. About 2 weeks ago, the Florida Supreme Court ruled on 2 abortion-related cases that reshape the law in this state. In the first case, the state's highest court upheld the 2022 law that banned most abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy. That decision automatically triggers a newer 6-week ban, which takes effect May 1st. The only exceptions are for rape, incest, when the life of the mother is in danger, in a law signed by Governor Ron DeSantis last year. Then, in a separate ruling, the Florida Supreme Court rejected the governor's legal challenge that tried to block a ballot initiative on protecting the right to an abortion with a constitutional amendment. In November, Florida voters will have the final say on abortion access in this state.
We're now going to have a ballot initiative where people are going to be able to fight back against the sort of extremism that continues to play out because of what he did in appointing the justices who overturned Roe v. Wade.
It was the right thing to do. Don't let anyone tell you it wasn't.
Florida has become a key point of access for abortion services. When the 6-week ban takes effect next month, nearly all abortions will stop in the entire southeastern United States. A survey by the Society of Family Planning showed last year more than 7,700 women from out of state received abortions here in Florida. We begin our discussion this morning with political science professor Dr. Luz Marina Garcia from Florida Atlantic University. All right, let's talk first about what happens in less than 7 months. We have this constitutional amendment initiative that will be on the ballot, but it takes more than a simple majority. The bar is pretty high here.
That's right. Around 60% of voters are going to have to be in agreement for this initiative to pass. We are only one of 11 states that have to have that supermajority. The rest of the states have a simple majority. So in 2006, the rules did change for Florida. And so we need to see a 60% vote for this initiative from voters in order to have it be a constitutional amendment.
Do you expect to see a lot of lobbying between now and then, I would assume?
I would expect so. I think an initiative like this and all of the salience with abortion issues the country over, I think it makes it salient in people's minds, and they will have that interest articulated through voting.
All right, now you talked about other states. Earlier this week, Arizona became the latest state to approve a virtually total abortion ban. When that state Supreme Court actually upheld the legality of this 1864 law that criminalizes abortion and threatens abortion providers with prison time. Abortion will only be allowed if a woman is at risk of dying. Now, Arizona may do what many other Republican-led states have done, which is eventually put it before voters. Arizona could still do that as well. If you please, can you break down this Florida ballot initiative for us? Because I know that the challenge was about the language. There's specific terminology about the right to seek an abortion in this state. What about that terminology? What does it say? What does it mean?
Right. So Florida Amendment 4 is essentially saying that a woman can seek an abortion up to 24 weeks, 24 weeks being around the time where a fetus can't survive outside of the womb anymore. And so a person can seek out that abortion to that time. And then additionally, healthcare providers do enter the picture because healthcare providers, it is with their regard that they can seek abortions in special cases as well.
Let me unpack that a little bit. I know the word in the amendment is viability.
That's right.
That's the 24-week period?
That's right. So fetal viability is a 24-week period. And so essentially, an abortion can be sought out up to that 24-week period with this constitutional amendment.
As far as parental consent, that is not affected by this?
No, it's not. It's supposed to be something, a different part of the rules kind of address that. And so that's not going to be something that's altered.
All right, now let's talk about what happens after this proposal is voted on. Let's say that it achieves the 60% level. What happens at that point?
Yes. So if we get 60% of voters voting yes for Florida Amendment number 4, what happens is that now it is part of the Constitution. Again, Amendment 4 is. And so that means that it goes into effect. Now, if we do not have that 60% that is met, it goes back to a 6-week ban, which was what was signed by the governor last year in April. But what we can also see, and I anticipate, is that because there was such strong language on Monday from the decisions that were passed down by the Florida Supreme Court, we might see different measures. So, for example, personhood might be something that be extended to fetuses, and that might affect and might even follow the Alabama Supreme Court in saying that in vitro fertilization is also an issue. So perhaps personhood would be extended, especially seeing the decisions and the language of them from the Florida Supreme Court.
Now, we know that we're speculating here, as a journalist and a political scientist here. Would you expect there will be other, perhaps legal challenges if this amendment to enshrine abortion access in the state constitution should be passed? Would you expect still more legal challenges to come?
I believe so. So it's not the first time that for example, this very year, we have a lot of repeated attempts from other states, and I would expect that Florida would follow suit, trying to get more signatures to make it into a citizen-led constitutional amendment. And so I feel that that may be something that we would continue to see. The salience of abortion is, at this time, very high, and so I think because it's such a galvanizing issue, that momentum would continue.
And what is that dynamic that's happening? We see time and time again these Republican-led states passing strict abortion limits, but even in those states, if this gets to the voters in a constitutional amendment, you're seeing this reversed, right?
So in some states, we have seen that. For example, in 2022, we saw Kentucky and 3 other states that made it so that the particular measure on their ballot was denied, and so therefore the ban went into effect. But I have to say that ever since the Dobbs decision was made, it really did come down to the state level. So what we see now about states really going about ballot initiatives was something to be expected. And so we do see a lot of division on states. For example, Florida is not alone in November 5th in voting on this particular issue. We also have Maryland and New York voters. And alongside that, we have 8 states, including Arizona, that are going to be trying to collect enough valid signatures to have it be a ballot initiative. In 2022, like I mentioned, there were 6 states that put it on their ballot. In 2023, we had Ohio that passed their abortion access constitutional amendment.
A major, major issue in a presidential election year.
Correct.
Dr. Luz Marina Garcia from FAU, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your insight. Well, coming up, my co-anchor Natalie Pozzo has more on the abortion debate and the opposition to this amendment.
When choosing between style, comfort, and performance, we chose all of the above. How we get there matters. Get exceptional offers at your local Audi dealer.
When it comes to upgrading to a beautiful commercial grade floor from Ox Floors, numbers matter. How about 10 times stronger than epoxy? Professionally installed in 1 day by a 5-star company. Ready to walk on in 3 hours. Financing available from $59 per month. But the most important number? Ox Floors phone number, 772-758-5851. Call now to get your free estimate and 30% off. Upgrade your garage floor, pool, deck, or patio now with Florida's #1 choice, Ox Floors.
Planet Oats so creamy and not watery like.
Exactly, and unsweetened, has 0 grams of sugar.
And don't forget, it's an excellent source of calcium. Wow, Planet Oat really has it all.
You guys are so right.
No, you are.
No, you are.
No, you are.
Yeah, you are.
You know that feeling you get when you look in the mirror and you see that big truck clutching the steering wheel as it gets too close? It's scary. But what's really scary is the aftermath of big truck wrecks. Permanent injuries, damages, or even death. If you or someone you care about was hurt or worse, you need a lawyer who has proven successes against the big trucking.
I'm Celicia Smith-Gordon. For me and my team, it's personal. Don't wait. Call us today.
I'm Jill Hazu.
And I'm Erin Burns.
We invite you to join us this Sunday for Total Retirement with Ernie Burns, where we'll discuss wealth management, estate planning, and more.
Ernie was named 2022's Forbes Best In-State Security Professional. You don't want to miss it. Downtown West Palm Beach is the county's waterfront hub for you to explore, experience, savor, sip, and stay in year-long summertime. Downtown West Palm Beach is your destination to play in the center of paradise.
Expectations are important. It's why we raised yours. How we get there matters. Get exceptional offers at your local Audi dealer.
WPBF 25 First Warning Weather, certified most accurate for 11 years.
You're watching On the Record on WPBF 25.
Welcome back. We are continuing our conversation this morning. Joining me now is Willie Guardiola with Palm Beach County Right to Life League. Willie, thank you for your time this morning. Really quick, let's first talk about your reaction to everything going on here in our state when it comes to abortion.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. This is phenomenal, and I've been saying this for so many years, that the abortion fight is really going to be starting now once we reverse Roe v. Wade back on June 24th of 2022. And now it's taken it to another level. And I truly believe that in the state of Florida, we're going to ban abortion someday, you know, maybe in 2 years or what have you. But I believe the 6-week heartbeat ban is going to be, it goes in effect in exactly 15 days on May 1st. And I think it's going to be the law of the land of the state of Florida. So no matter what the left is doing, no matter what they're doing with their petition, their amendment, it's going to be on the ballot for the 2024 election. But I truly believe that we're never going to have that go into play here. And I believe the Florida Supreme Court justices, which is 6-1 conservative, are going to rule it out, even though they're going to get 60% of the vote. And I don't think they're getting 60%.
So I wanted to ask you next about that, because you were hopeful that this was never even going to make it onto the ballot. You thought that the Supreme Court, the Florida Supreme Court, would not go towards this, would side with the governor. It wouldn't even be on the ballot.
Exactly.
But here we are, and it is going on the ballot.
I actually sent an open letter to Ashley Moody, the Attorney General. I said, Ashley, take a look at this amendment on the left here. Read this thing. There's like 4 red flags here, and something's got to be done, because it's going to really, you know, just mislead the voters. So I pointed out all this stuff back on October 7th and got to her attention. She actually brought it up to the Florida Supreme Court justices, and that's where this whole thing is taken. Now, a few months ago, I was in Tallahassee for the Catholic Days of the Capitol, and I was there at the rally with Father Frank Pavone, Matt Staver, et cetera, and just to see what was going on, the temperature and everything. And we had a feeling that the Supreme Court was going to maybe just stand back and allow this ballot, the amendment to be on the ballot. And, again, I feel bad for the left in the sense that I think they're just throwing them a bone. And I believe they're trying to appease everybody. So they'll say, okay, we have our amendment on the ballot, but I still don't think it's ever going to come into play in the state of Florida. It's a dilemma. I mean, for me, it's tough, because I'm the president of the Palm Beach County Right to Life League. I run pro-lifers for Trump. And now with his statement that he put out 72 hours ago, and it's kind of difficult, because I'm all about banning abortion. I mean, these are human beings in the womb. These aren't, gopher tortoises or sea turtles or manatees. These are human beings. So it's difficult for me, because I have been such a staunch, just a pro-lifer my entire life. And now it's like, okay, do we go this way? Do we go that way? We have to win this election, and that's the bottom line. Because if we don't win on November 5th, all this stuff, we could just throw it out the window. So now I'm not going to compromise my integrity and my principles, because I'm still going to try to protect every single baby. But it's like, okay, well, President Trump said it's up to the states, and it's the will of the people, like he said 3 times. So how are we going to win this election? We need to win this election in order for us to be effective once he's in the White House again, and then put in all the abortion bans in the state of Florida, et cetera.
Willie, you brought up the former president. He did bring up Arizona's near total ban of abortion, and he says that he thinks that law is going too far and that lawmakers are going to have to change it. What do you say to that?
I mean, look what he did, what he said 6 months ago, when the 6-week heartbeat, came into play here in the state of Florida with Governor DeSantis, and he thought it was too harsh. He used the word harsh. So it's like, okay, well, he's the most pro-life president we've ever had. That's why I voted for him. That's why I started Pro-Lifers for Trump. But it's difficult now where he's kind of taken a step back, and the evangelicals, the pro-lifers, people like myself are saying, okay, well, hold on a second. Is President Trump really that pro-life? So he's trying to, appease everybody, trying to get all the votes, win this election, and I'm praying to God that when he does take office in January 2025, he's going to put all these abortion bans into play, a national ban across the country, and allow our people, the pro-lifers of the state of Florida, to do our jobs and make sure that all these abortion clinics are closed.
Willie, before we wrap up this morning, this is a debate that has been going on for years. Do you think that the fight will ever end for either side?
It's going to go on forever. I mean, I'm 66 years old, and, this is going to go on for so many years. I mean, look when Roe v. Wade, came into play, January 22nd, 1973. It's been 51 and a half years, and now it's just really getting started. So looking at the future here, I'm worried and just focused on the state of Florida. That's what I'm doing, Palm Beach County.
Again, an ongoing debate here. Willie, thank you for your time this morning. Coming up next, my co-anchor Todd McDermott goes on the record with Planned Parenthood.
Preventing distracted driving. Is Bluetooth a safer option? New Monday morning, the surprising statistics when it comes to crashes.
Plenty of sun on Monday. I'll let you know what you can expect for the rest of the work week.
We're there when news breaks in every community. Whether you're navigating Palm Beach County traffic or tracking storms on the Treasure Coast, watch WPBF 25 News Mornings everywhere, every day. Watch Sandra Shaw on WPBF 25 News Mornings.
There are a few places where you'll hear the truth. And this is one of them.
With HealthSun Health Plans, life is a piece of cake with access to exclusive providers that take care of all my medical needs and all under the same roof.
It's like a Medicare makeover. With HealthSun, every year you can receive $1,978 back in your Social Security check, $600 for OTC items, and much more. Take it from me. I'm Mr. Sunshine. Your health deserves a 5-star plan. Call us today.
It started. It's the side hug. Tween milestones like this may start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then, too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for others, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Welcome.
Hi. Now, as the dad cab, it's my cue to help protect them.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination.
The best amenity at V at Lakeside Village? Well, it's not the delicious chef-prepared cuisine, or the world-class service, or even the care plan for tomorrow that empowers you to live for today. Nope. The best amenity, hands down, is your fellow social butterflies, adventure companions, and creative collaborators. The inspiring people who call V at Lakeside Village home. Find out how you can join them.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Today's guest is Kara from Eyeglass World.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
All right, Kara. What's it like being the fastest woman in the world?
Me? I'm not.
But you work at Eyeglass World. You make people's glasses the same day. You're so fast.
Are you messing with me?
Do you get a lot of speeding tickets?
Get 2 pairs of glasses for $89 the same day at Eyeglass World, the world's best way to buy glasses.
Welcome back. Joining me now to go on the record is Laura Goodhue with Planned Parenthood. Thank you for being here. Let's first establish Planned Parenthood's position on why abortion rights should be enshrined in the state constitution.
Sure. So the amendment that the voters will be voting on in November actually would prohibit the government, the state government, from passing laws that interfere with abortion. So not necessarily enshrining the right, because we believe in reasonable regulations. It simply says that, the choice around abortion should be left to the patient and the healthcare provider.
I want to jump ahead because of that, something you said about regulations. Let's clarify the current law in Florida and elsewhere. There are claims made in the political world that there are women getting abortions right up until the time of birth. To the best of your knowledge, is that something that happens in the United States?
These are purely scare tactics. I mean, the statistics show that less than 1% of abortions are after viability, and those are only in the case when there is just the health of the mother is in danger, you know, and these are people who have very wanted pregnancies and something's gone horribly wrong, and we shouldn't be making villains out of women who need to seek that care. You know, we've seen people like in Texas, the woman who had a miscarriage and, you know, twice was denied, you know, the medically necessary abortion, and she was put on life support. We've seen horrible cases like that in Florida as well.
I heard that key word, viability, which is part of the wording of this particular amendment that voters will decide on November 5th. Tell me more about the wording of the amendment as far as the way Planned Parenthood sees it.
So viability simply means before that a fetus is viable before it can survive outside the womb by standard medical measure. It's very common, you know, in medical terms. It's also the standard before Roe v. Wade. And so it's something that people should be used to. Instead of legislators and politicians passing arbitrary laws around 16 or 6 weeks or 15 weeks, we're simply saying that government shouldn't interfere in these decisions before viability, so before pregnancy can survive outside of the womb, unless, you know, the health care of the woman is in danger according to her health care provider.
There's a long way to go to November, but let's talk about the 6-week ban that will become Florida law on May 1st. Can you give people a clearer picture of what that changed from a 15-week ban, which was challenged and was upheld, now we get the 6-week ban, what the impact is on women and on the healthcare community in the state of Florida?
Yes, there's going to be a huge impact, and I think a lot of people know who have been pregnant or know someone that's been pregnant, that 6 weeks is just, it's really before many women even know that they're pregnant. I mean, if you call your doctor and you say, oh, I think I might be pregnant, and you're trying to get pregnant, they'll often say, come in, you know, in another month, your second missed period. But look, if your birth control fails or, you know, God forbid you're a victim of rape or incest, 6 weeks simply isn't enough time to make these decisions for yourself. And that's why we're simply saying that government should not be interfering in our health care. It's too dangerous, and the impact will just be broad sweeping across this state when this goes into effect in less than 3 weeks.
We had our first poll in the state of Florida, again, not a giant sample, and we are months away, but that poll showed that getting to the 60% threshold that you need to actually approve a constitutional amendment will be a challenge for those who support this amendment. It showed it somewhere in the 50% range. You need to get to 60, a lot of undecideds. So when you see a poll like that, this far out, again, granted, from an election, when you're an advocate for this change in the law in Florida, how do you react to seeing a poll that says you have a hill to climb here?
It's part of the process. We're going to see a lot of different polls. Our own polling is showing that over 70% of Floridians, you know, do not want government interfering in these healthcare decisions. And we've seen in other states, they've been able to, you know, pass these initiatives. Just this week, was it yesterday? Arizona passed a law banning all abortion from the Civil War era, from 1860s. We know that the more that people are experiencing these types of bans and this type of unnecessary government interference, the more popular it will be to say no and to stop government from playing politics with our lives.
If this amendment passes, do you believe this will become settled law in the state of Florida, or will we see more litigation down the line despite what the voters decide?
Putting something in the Constitution is really important, and we have a pathway. We have direct democracy in the state of Florida, which is really wonderful. You know, our citizens get to petition their government directly when they've overreached, and this is a clear overreach. I mean, a 6-week ban before most women even know they're pregnant, and we've just seen too many dire circumstances. There's a woman named Anya Cook who hemorrhaged in a salon bathroom because the 15-week ban, you know, the doctors were afraid to medically terminate her pregnancy because of that. There's a woman named Annabelle Lopez in South Florida whose son had trisomy 18, which means he would have died after 2 weeks. And these are real tragic circumstances that we shouldn't be allowing in Florida.
I am out of time. Laura Goodhue from Planned Parenthood. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
On the Record, we'll be right back.
Injured in an accident? Let us put our legal power to work for you in fighting for your huge result. Call us at 500-HELP. With Smith, Ball, Baez, and Prather, help is just a local phone call away.
Shane Wright, Yanni Caracas, only on WPBF 25 Sports.
Falls behind that line. Get exclusive offers on select new Volvo models. Contact your Volvo retailer to learn more.
This spring, play to win at Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino Hollywood as we celebrate our 20-year anniversary with the $1 million Platinum Payout Giveaway. From March 31st to May 25th, earn entries playing daily for your chance to win. Prizes include 2 2024 Mercedes GLE 53s. Drawings take place every Saturday from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Grand prize drawings on April 27th and May 25th. Play to increase your chances to win during Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino's 20th anniversary celebration.
We buy any car. Why sell your car at WeBuyAnyCar.com? Because when you trade in, you're dealing with a dealer.
Ooh, I won again. What are the odds? Hey, double or nothing?
On average, people pay $990 more when they trade in. Come to WeBuyAnyCar.com instead. All we do is buy cars. Get in, get out, and get paid at a fair price.
Nice.
Don't gamble with dealers. Get your free online valuation now at WeBuyAnyCar.com.
The biggest sale of the season is happening right now at LL Flooring. Save up to 50% on over 300 floors at the Dream Floor event. Our experts can help turn your indecision into your best decision and make the floor of your dreams a dream come true. Don't miss your chance to save up to 50% on over 300 floors with 24-month special financing. Get your dream deal today. The biggest sale of the season ends April 16th. Save more at LL Flooring's Dream Floor event. LL Flooring, every step covered.
Injured in an accident? Smith Ball, Byers & Prather, Florida injury lawyers, will help and fight for you. Call us at 500-HELP, 500-HELP. With Smith Ball, Byers & Prather, help is just a local phone call away.
A controversial conversation that definitely will continue. Thank you so much for making us a part of your morning.
And as always, we encourage you to be part of our discussion every Sunday right here at 10 a.m. Till then, you can see this morning's On the Record program and every episode on our website, WPBF.com. They're also available on our free WPBF 25 News app. Matter of fact, with Soledad O'Brien is next. We hope you have a great day. We'll see you again next Sunday.